I'm Kevin.
I'm Tony.
What are we talking about today, there, Tone?
Uh, we're talking about something that happened here in Cascade County. I don't know, it was probably in the summer of this year, but there was a lawsuit filed. It's regarding bloodborne pathogens being served in inmate food. So that's what we're chatting about today. Kevin even had some interactions with one of our county commissioners online, suggesting that Kevin didn't even read an article.
Yeah, yeah.
You should read, Kevin.
I know. I like when they bite into clickbait.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun, you know. You kind of just, but I wish they would. I mean, tell me what I got wrong. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just called for, I think he should resign. I think we've had enough with the the shenanigans that's kind of going on, and I don't think people really realize this. But
Yeah.
I mean, wrongful death payouts in the past 2 years, $750,000, according to the Electric. Okay,
Yep.
five hundred and fifty
Several
thousand dollar
suicides.
settlements. Yeah, yeah, clusters
Yep.
of all kinds of things
Several
that are
suicides.
are really drug smuggling, contraband, according to the
Mm-hmm.
Electric. Others, the ICE.
It would be one thing if these were like one-off
Right.
incidences, but having multiple of them, and the one that we're going to be covering today included in that, really demonstrates that there's a culture in the jail that, that to me, I always think culture of an institution or an organization always goes to its leadership. So that would include the sheriff and the county commissioners. So they are letting a particular culture remain there, or at least they are contributing to that, and it's causing lots of harm to the inmates up there in the jail.
Well, and he's had two deputies that were arrested, right? I do believe,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Two deputies arrested. Yep.
yep, yep, they had some misconduct going on there. It also questions if they'd be transparent to say how long they knew and give the records to show the disciplinary action if there was any going on with that. I think these are valid questions,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not talking about the workers either. Um, uh, I have interacted with those who work up there, and listen, they have a tough job, and I couldn't fathom the job that they have to do, but the leader has to be a leader, and from what we've seen, it's been really rough, and so what? And this is again bodily harm. I mean, how many harm cases do we have to go through to question? That's all we're doing. We're just
Yeah.
questioning. Let's read it. Huh?
Well, and it's just so funny about how certain people hitch their wagon to the sheriff and try and defend him here, in terms of our elected officials, when they really don't have much to stand on. And I don't know, I think it's a mistake on their end for sure.
Well, and I think because we get looked at as, well, you're only looking at the bad things. You're looking at the bad things. You're looking at the bad things. Well, when the
Mm-hmm.
bad things are shining like stars, I
Yeah.
I'm I mean, they drew the attention to it. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Well, and
they
that's what accountability is, right? Isn't
you would think so.
that what we're supposed to do with our government?
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, and I and
I
I
mean,
and I hope.
here, and an interesting phrase we hear sometimes when it comes to the citizens, I think applies to our government. If they're not doing anything wrong, then it wouldn't matter that we are looking into them and highlighting these big important issues that we're seeing. So
No,
they have
they'd be
nothing to worry
dropping it.
about.
They'd be dropping it on our laps. I mean, do they give it to the news? Because
Yeah.
the poor news. I mean, the lies that they have been told, or the misconception, the deception that they have gone with many cases that we've seen here, just like flat turned out to be wrong. Dates,
Mm-hmm.
times. I mean, I'm I'm disappointed in things like that. So
Yeah.
that's another day, but
So yeah, let's get into it. So this we're recording this on Tuesday, the 16th of December. So this article was published on Monday. by Matt Hudson from the Montana Free Press, and he's I mean sort of a local guy. I think he almost exclusively reports on local issues. I'm guessing he lives here in Great Falls or at least Cascade County, but it's interesting some of the selective things that he ends up reporting on. But at least he is reporting on this one. So this article: Cascade County inmates positive for hepatitis C after being served blood contaminated food in a lawsuit contends. So, subheader here is that it was filed by 27 inmates. The lawsuit alleges that employees of the food service contractor ordered that the contaminated food be served. One note I want to really highlight here is that this is the plural, so employees as opposed to employee, which will
Right.
become a little bit important as we look into this. Okay, so at least 3 inmates at the Cascade County Detention Center tested positive for hepatitis C for the first time after they were served food contaminated with a kitchen worker's blood in September, according to a lawsuit. The case filed earlier this month by 27 inmates claims that employees of the jail's food service vendor told kitchen staff not to dispose of the contaminated food and that the inmates could scoop around the blood. The lawsuit names the food service vendor, Summit Correctional Services, and 5 unnamed employees as defendants. The contamination came from an unnamed inmate who was preparing lunch on September 28th under the supervision of employees from Summit Correctional Services. The inmate experienced a nosebleed while preparing a lunch pasta dish, and some blood got into the meals. Another inmate saw the contamination and attempted to dispose of the food, but Summit employees, identified in the lawsuit as Does 1 through 5, ordered them to return the food back into the service line. Court documents state some of the inmates saw blood in their food trays according to case documents. The inmate with the nosebleed was positive for hepatitis C, and the testing of inmates began after the incident. Court documents say that some of the plaintiffs have since tested positive for the first time in their lives with hepatitis C. The documents then said that they've experienced jaundice, weight loss, confusion, and fatigue as a result. Tim Bechtold, a Missoula-based attorney for inmates, told Montana Free Press Monday that 3 people have tested positive for hepatitis C since being exposed to the contaminated food. Testing is ongoing for the other inmates. More inmates may be added as plaintiffs to the case, and it's not yet fully known how many people are exposed to the contaminated food, Bechtold said. Food preparation works like a conveyor belt. As trays move down the food line, workers add items to the trays, which are then placed on a cart sent to the inmate blocks. It's unclear how much of the day's pasta dish might have been contaminated and sent out to the rest of the jail. Bechtold does know where the first batch of contaminated food went. All 3 of the women's pods got served, Bechtold said. Their trays were on the rack and were served first. The lawsuit, filed in U.S. District Court in Great Falls, alleges negligence by Summit's employees, the violation of the inmates' constitutional rights, and battery due to the alleged harm caused by the contamination. On October 8th, the Cascade County Sheriff's Office issued a press release about the incident. In the release, Sheriff Slaughter said that a Summit kitchen supervisor stopped the inmate food preparer from discarding the contaminated food and returned it to the serving line. The release said that the Sheriff's Office wasn't notified until 2 days after the incident. The release stated that the county revoked the security clearance of the Summit kitchen supervisor and added that no other housing units were impacted. Slaughter issued a statement calling Summit's actions inexcusable. There were no public acknowledgement of hepatitis C contamination at that time. Reached on Monday, Slaughter said that he had no further comment due to the lawsuit. Neither Cascade nor the Sheriff's Office is a defendant in the lawsuit. Slaughter did say that Summit is still the jail's food service vendor. Included in the Sheriff's Office October 8th press release was a statement from Summit Correctional Services. It said, "We took immediate corrective actions and are conducting a comprehensive review of our food safety practices, including retraining all team members. We take this matter very seriously and remain fully committed to maintaining the highest standards of food safety, quality, and transparency across every aspect of our operations." Inquiries made to the South Dakota-based Summit and its French parent company, Ilora Group, weren't returned by midday Monday. A call to Summit's listed phone number continued to ring with no voicemail. No court hearing has been scheduled in this case. One thing I just want to examine here. So, the inmate was preparing lunch on September 28th.
Yep.
September 28th, so that was a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And October 8th was when the Sheriff's Office issued a press release. So, and they said that they weren't notified until 2 days after. So, September 28th, the incident happened. the sheriff's office wasn't notified until September 30th, and then they didn't release a press release until a week after.
Ouch.
Yeah. So pretty long amount of time before, I mean, sure, they might have been investigating a little bit, but I mean, if we were to go back to that press release, I don't think there's much information there that would take a full week to be able to gather. So why did it take so long to provide that press release?
Yeah. And, you know, I want to play a little devil's advocate here a little bit too. Inmates are very crafty, and y'all know that you are. And if they saw blood and they could get some kind of retribution for that, I wouldn't doubt in my mind sometimes that those guys play games. Am I saying somebody did it on purpose onto them? I don't know. How is Hype C has to go through the bloodstream? It has to go through a wound to be able to contract, correct? Oh,
yeah.
well, cool. Why don't we just look it right
up? This little
Thank
infographic here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, some of the symptoms that they mention here, they mentioned in the article. So, stomach pain, vomiting, yellow skin or eyes. It's something that affects the liver and attacks the liver. So you could imagine some of those folks up there, you know, they've probably used alcohol quite a lot in their lives. I mean, hopefully they're not using it in prison. That would be a whole nother issue that we're talking about. But you can imagine that there's probably some liver disease already up there. But how it does spread, either through shared needles, syringes, lancets, sex, shared care items like toothbrushes or razors. But that's the toothbrushes is because you're hitting your gums, which would give you direct access to the bloodstream. Being born to a person with Hep C or any sort of medical mishap. So it's not like you can just contract it by eating the contaminated food. It would have to be something that, you know, if there's a sore in your mouth, that might be one way that it happens. Or if you have some sort of open wound and you come in contact with that contaminated food. So, I mean, it's still not out of the question that some of these folks got infected from hepatitis C, from the infected individual.
To the gums.
But yeah, yep. So
right to the gum.
Yep. So a lot of biological rationale that can be provided there.
Yeah. So it's hard to get. It's irrelevant because they should have swept that food and put it. Should have put it in a red bag as contaminated and hazardous under those facilities protocols.
So and I pulled up the website of this Summit Correctional Services. Let's go to their mission statement because I find this pretty interesting. So their mission: help make correctional institutions better places to work and live. Their vision: to support our clients and communities by reliably serving, being a valued partner, and empowering our teams. And values include integrity, dedication, empowerment, accountability, and service. Seems like a lot of those things were lacking, or they're just not training their employees to recognize those values. Especially when you had a prison employee, or not a prisoner wanting to dispose of it. I mean, that seems like someone who felt empowered to be able to make the right decision when it came to blood-borne illnesses or pathogens, but they didn't.
Boy, I'm trying to say something, you know, where it's, you know, it's a good thing. And I don't mean it by, how do you say it? You don't know your employees until you know your employees. It's really hard. But they should have definitely had some different. And why wasn't it a guard that would say you need to throw that work? Don't they have kitchen duty too, and watch them closely? Again, I don't know. This is something that would have to be asked. Why wasn't a guard informed? And then he or she'd be like, that's not happening. So where was the other supervision and on top of the supervision that should have been there, I guess. Is that
Right.
fair?
And that's probably a good point. Like I'm guessing the summit is not contracted to provide their own security, so
Oh, no.
why isn't a guard in the kitchen there as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I know they're short staffed. I get it. They're short staffed but during mealtime, wouldn't that be something that would almost be protocol
Yeah, they
the
have
way it is?
access to knives, all sorts of tools.
A tray that can hit you over the head,
Yeah.
stuff like
Yep.
that, anything's a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I think we heard that before. Even, hands kill people. I think
Yep.
we've heard that before. So, I would like to see what this constitutional thing is, though, too.
Yeah, I'm interested
What
in that
article?
as well. Yeah, what part of the Constitution is that about? Because if you note, they filed in the U.S. District Court in Great Falls, so this is federal court that they filed this
Right.
in. So not
They would
even
have to,
Montana court.
like the Hansons and others.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was another lawsuit against law enforcement out in Missoula, or was it Kalispell? I can't remember. I might be wrong, but yeah. So I think a lot of it comes down to the leadership again, and that should roll down
Well,
from there.
and despite it not being the lawsuit not being against the sheriff's office or the Cascade County, which I think, and Kevin, you and I talked about that a little bit before. It might be just because they're contracted workers, so they may not be held liable to those standards. But either way, like there should be some more ownership and responsibility that's taken by Slaughter and the commissioners. And I think here's a pretty good example here. So they've identified in the lawsuit does 1 through 5. So at least 5 Summit employees that they are suing. Whereas when you look to what Slaughter ended up doing, Sheriff Slaughter ended up doing, let's see, where is it? Here. The release stated that the county revoked their security clearance of Summit Kitchen Supervisor and added that no other housing units were impacted. So they just revoked the security clearance of one Summit Kitchen Supervisor, but it sounds like there were multiple people, and they are still keeping their contract with Summit at the same time. So for something that they are saying is inexcusable, for something that's saying actions as inexcusable, they sure aren't acting like it.
Right. And again, here's an outside source looking at a constitutional matter. Again, it's like a repeating thing, right? And just before we were going to record, when Bob was our mayor, a woman tried to chalk my tires, and I was in my vehicle. I was sitting downtown, and she walked up, took a picture of the truck behind me. Okay. Walked up and didn't see me in my car. I was waiting outside of Tracy's, and she was just about to take my picture, and I had to roll down the window and say, I'm here. I'm right here. I'm on the phone right now. I'm going to be, and she proceeded to keep continuing doing what she was doing. And then she whipped out the chalk, and I was like, please don't do that. That's not necessary. And so I wrote a email saying it was been done, that it's unconstitutional to chalk people's tires, and they are contracted, regardless if it's a win fight or not. Just the city knowing, the commissioners knowing, and Jesse knowing that there are constitutional things possibly being broken, but we're going to walk the line and take it anyways, is a disservice to everybody who pays their taxes for these people. So they're missing the whole entire point. They want to throw this law back at me too with the court said this and it was in a different circuit, so we're not going to follow it. Instead, it's like, no, yeah, we're walking a very fine line here. That decision can go either way anytime soon. We don't really want to do business with people who are walking the line of unconstitutional things. And I think that's where I think we're coming from. and I don't know why we have to be demonized for it so badly. But
Right. Well, and I know we've mentioned this previously on like the Cascade effect. The sheriff calls himself a constitutional sheriff. Why isn't
and
he trying
and
to
if he keeps
protect
getting
people's constitutional
constitutional
rights? Yeah.
lawsuits against them,
Mm-hmm.
there's a big question. I mean, there's a big question.
I understand the whole, try and get rid of a food service contract and then getting a new one is going to be complicated and hard, but a lot of times the right decisions in these sort of instances are not easy decisions. They have to be hard because of what has happened prior to that. It's multiple failings that have led to the hard decision, but nevertheless, the hard decision needs to be made, and he hasn't
Yeah,
made it.
it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it. But I hope those people are all going to be all right. I hope everything is legitimate. We'll have to keep our eyes on the case itself and see how that goes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Anything else, Kevin?
Oh, I don't know. Do we want to stop it and just go and try to do the other one, or you want to just
let's
snap it?
let's separate them because I mean we got a nice little 20